Coming to you from the all-new Live House in Hollywood, California.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. Industry icon Shea Pope is going to update us on what he's doing in just a second. But first, get your behind in the running for the Pensado's Place Ultimate Vocal Contest. It's brought to you by Auto-Tune. As we've been telling you, 3 winners per week of Auto-Tune Unlimited, the quintessential vocal suite. It's going to be paired with a badass AKG Lyra mic that comes with Ableton 10, works with everything, plug and play right out of the box. The grand prize winner after 3 weeks gets an hour session with star engineer Quentin Q. Gilkey. Quentin's worked side by side with Eminem, Dr. Dre, Anderson .Paak, and a whole bunch more. You'll also win the Auto-Tune Unlimited plus a different microphone, the AKG C314, and the best of all, you'll appear on Pensado's Place with Dave and I. So hurry up, enter at news.autotune.com/Pensado's Place. You can see it right here, and you become a vocal ninja. Hurry up. We're going to announce 6 winners next week. 6. So get your stuff in there. In the interim, our buddy Mitch Gallagher takes a look at Big Sur. That's the latest operating system from Apple and how it can work for you and you creatives. Here's some sound advice from our friends at Sweetwater.
Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Welcome to Sound Advice. There's been big news coming from Apple lately, both a brand new version of macOS called Big Sur, as well as the announcement of entirely new processors and RAM architecture for Macintoshes moving forward. While a new OS and new computers are very exciting, a lot of questions also arise, such as when you should make the move, either to the new OS or to the new machines. And this isn't just a Mac thing. While Macs are in the news, pretty much every year you can look forward to a new operating system, whether you're on Windows, Mac, or a mobile device. And hardware for all platforms keeps evolving as well. So while we're dealing with changes with Macs right now, the other platforms relatively face exactly the same situation. The question for those of us who rely on our computers for music and audio production is, should I upgrade to the new operating system or hardware architecture? For me personally, and for our team here at Sweetwater, we've been through these sorts of changes and updates on several platforms many times, and I'll tell you right up front, we advise caution. I know you want to update to the latest and greatest and take advantage of all the cool new features just like I do. For example, I've been messing with the beta of Apple's new Big Sur operating system for a while now, not on my studio computer, but on a separate computer, and it looks like it's going to be excellent. But keep in mind that a major OS update comes with a big caveat for those of us who make music and record audio and MIDI on our computers. There's always a lag time before music and audio software and hardware manufacturers can have a chance to do whatever updates they need to do to their software and hardware in order to make it compatible with the new operating system or hardware technologies. Now, some manufacturers do this very quickly, and in some cases, no updates are required. For others, it can take some time for them to be positively sure that their products are 100% compatible with a new operating system or hardware. It depends on a lot of interactive factors between the operating system and the manufacturer's music and audio hardware and software. The good news is these incompatibilities are temporary. We know manufacturers will make OS and hardware compatibility a high priority, but it can take some time for any issues that might arise to be resolved. All that said, the point is, until you're absolutely positive that your music and audio software and hardware will be compatible, I advise waiting to update. Otherwise, you risk having your computer or studio out of commission for making music. And when you decide to make the move to the new OS or new hardware, I advise you to first make a complete backup or image of your entire current computer. This way, if the worst happens and you have problems, then you can quickly and easily get back to where you were before you attempted the change. Now, it's a good idea to have this sort of an image backup regardless, but in my opinion, it's essential when you're updating to a new computer or a new operating system. I'll also point you to the SweetCare section of Sweetwater.com. We have a great collection of update resources for you there, including compatibility lists, detailed instructions and tips on how to make a backup and how to downgrade back to your early operating system if necessary, and much more. Now, all of this isn't to scare you off. I'm super excited about the new operating system as well as the new hardware. New operating systems always bring nice new features and optimized performance, and a completely new computer architecture like the M1 chips in the new Macs is super exciting. But if you rely on your computer for making music and as the heart of your studio, then you can't afford to be out of commission due to update problems or software or hardware compatibility issues. Be cautious, wait to update until you're sure everything you need is compatible, and thoroughly prepare for the worst to happen before you update or make a big change. It's tough to be patient when you've got a cool new operating system or powerful new computer hardware on the horizon. But I'll say it one more time, hold back, be cautious. Then when you do make the transition, it'll be smooth and easy, and you'll be able to continue making and recording music with no problems. Thanks for joining me for Sound Advice. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.
From Hans Zimmer to Kanye West, a hitmaker, an executive, an industry favorite, and a really good friend. Here's industry icon, Shay Pope. Shay.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm hanging in there. You know, getting more gray, but I'm enjoying it.
I have I got on Amazon a hair color thing that in 8 minutes can bring you back 15 years, and I use it all the time.
Really? Is that the Rudy Giuliani package?
No, the one with drip.
It's not the Rudy Giuliani.
That Giuliani juice.
Yeah, Giuliani juice. That was great. Between Pence and the Fly and the Giuliani drip, I don't know.
I don't know, man. The next animal, we don't know what that's going to be. But,
yeah.
You know, one of the things, particularly when you've had some experience in the game, I like to say pedigree is often pronoun. I mean, when you think about your pedigree, Teddy, Fugees, Wyclef, Dr. Dre, Hans Zimmer, Kanye, and none of those are the artists that you worked with. This incredible set of artists that as recently as A$AP Rocky, you know, that. So one of the things that I think is fascinating for guys that have been around for a while is, do you ever reflect on what that's meant to you creatively and career-wise?
You know, I had the opportunity last year to sit with Quincy and just like, he let me come over to the house and just hang out with him for about 2-3 hours and talk. And he talked about, you know, don't be so in the moment that you don't reflect, that you don't appreciate your accomplishments and appreciate the journey. And I think many times we just go, right? We're so driven to go and you're in the moment and you're on to the next thing. So it wasn't really till I sat down with Quincy that I really took some time. And COVID has helped that. I've had a lot of time to reflect during COVID. And, you know, I've turned boredom into, rather than being bored, I've tried to turn that into a period of reflection and learning and growth.
Yeah.
So
the thing that I think we all are learning, our new normal sort of forces us to now deal with stuff like that, to deal with time differently. I mean, I almost broke into tears when the NBA came back quickly. Lord Jesus, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
But that said, in a crazy upside down year like this, like for Dave and I, January, we were inducted into the Tech Hall of Fame. Probably
congratulations to that. I saw that. That's amazing, by the way.
And then a week later, Kobe dies. Yeah. And then, you know, up, down. In a week or two, we're being recognized by the Latin Grammys. And, you know, I just had a personal family tragedy. And so you find some equilibrium. The point to the audience really is that it's important to know where you're going, to look at where you've been, and then to find out what you need to put into the mix to help you grow. That's the long point that I was getting to. And one other thing that I think is also fascinating is you're one of the few folks who have navigated both the executive suite and the control room successfully.
I don't know. I was just about to say, I don't know if it was navigated it or more was like kind of like Kobe's helicopter a little bit, you know what I mean? Not to rest in peace, Kobe, because that's one of my heroes. Yeah. But the point being is it's been a journey. And I love the fact that I have experience on both sides because it really helps me see the bigger picture better, you know, because I can look at each side. You know, I think when I did Lauryn's album and there was so many problems with the financial side and the compensation and the credit side of it, that I was like, rather than just blame her and like, you know, it's easy to be bitter and be mad. It was like, no, let me educate myself more, you know, and that became getting an A&R job and let me go in the building and really understand, you know, so.
Her miseducation was your education.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was really an education, you know, and all these journeys, like the people that you mentioned, each step of the way was an educational moment. You know, it's like some people go to grad school and then they go to get their master's and get their doctorate. each one was for me. Hans was one. Dre was one.
Yeah.
Kanye for sure was one.
For sure.
That was getting my doctorate, but also getting my, that was like also, in the psych ward,
Yeah.
Your Dr. Phil.
Yeah. I was getting my,
That glory moment where Denzel, that one tear rolls down his eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People think he's crazy. He's not crazy. He's not crazy at all. He's just him, and you got to love it. You got to accept him for what it is. But and it comes with all that, meaning it comes with the amazing music, and then it may come with some, Putin statement.
Right.
So it just
When I was refreshing my memory about you and your accomplishments, I got a new feeling about Kanye thanks to you. Similar things that you were saying and you expanded on, and there was something that Kanye said. Distraction is the enemy of vision, and to me that's the headline today. And can you expand on how that's affected your career recently and how it's going to help you going forward? Brilliant quote by Kanye.
Yeah, and I just think I was just talking. I had Salam Remy on my podcast, and one of the things he talked about, which I thought was great, was he talked about like a horse on a horse track who has blinders on. Mm-hmm. And it's like you don't hear what's going on over here. You don't see what's going on over here because, like you said, it distracts you from your purpose and your goals. Mm-hmm. And how are you going to make something great if you're watching what's going on over there, and you're watching what's going on there? Of course, you're going to be influenced by it, And that's a lot of what's going on in the news, right? That fake news and the distraction. It's because that's just to distract you from your, what your focus is. Mm-hmm. For me, two things. I'm an executive at DistroKid, which is technically confidential, but will be announced soon. I'll say it here. And then I'm also have a startup, and both of those things require the utmost focus. Because if you want to do anything great, I have signs all over my walls in the studio, and one of the signs I have is "Be amazing, make the amazing. Nothing less than the amazing can be released." And it's a constant reminder to me if I'm not if that's not the goal, then what am I doing?
Yeah. Do you still have the roads with all the little sayings and the lyrics and all that?
I do. You know what?
There's something else. I don't mean to dominate the conversation, but that you and Kanye talked about the influence of Paris on his creativity, and I really believe wholeheartedly in that, but a lot of my friends don't. And so just a move that I've made recently has affected my creativity. And can you expand on that, how that relates to you?
I think that was one of the amazing things about just working with Kanye, right? Meaning working with Dre, working with this guy who had this discipline, right, of expert, like just never settle, right? He was this guy who was so focused and so disciplined. I get with Kanye, and we're working on music, and this guy's referencing Brazilian architects and shit like that, like these kind of references that he's making that are influencing this music stuff. And I'm just like listening to this guy, man. I'm like, man, I never really thought about how art and culture and travel and cities and worlds really, at that point, I would say kind of at that point in my life, I had traveled. I'd been to London at that point in some places, but for work was primarily New York and LA, Miami. Yeah. And, with Dre, we went to Hawaii sometimes, but it was like really studio focused. And it was like with Kanye, we might fly to Spain and go look at a house. Mm-hmm. And that house might influence, a whole mood board for him. And that mood board may turn into an album, may turn into a stage show, may turn into merchandise. And that was an amazing journey to just, man, a glimpse into his process really expanded grew my process tenfold. And now my studio is full of books, just my black and white pictures of all my heroes. I took down plaques and put up pictures of Nina Simone and, and surrounded myself with that type of energy. So it was just being with the guy was just a walking lesson in culture and being influenced by all these things. So it was amazing. And I thank him for that.
And I thank you for something, because instead of me having my own little secret journey and thinking that I'm absolutely batshit crazy, I have long believed in inspiration that might be coming from a sports background with my dad, but things that inspire you and that you want to achieve. I took down the art in my house and put up something by Dalai Lama and something by Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
And I'm always, particularly with the team, it's all about being fired up and achieving something and having a purpose, because when you need it and you keep those blinders on, that rush to you, and particularly when people affirm what you've done because you were single-minded, to me, that's what the greats do.
Yeah.
And that ability to not lose focus. When I travel, and I don't want to make this all about me, but when I travel, my favorite thing to do is get in an Uber or a car by myself, and I tell the driver, take me to the nicest part of the neighborhoods in town, and let me just look at homes.
Yeah.
And nobody understands it. It seems weird. I stopped telling people. They say, where are you going? I'm going to get lunch.
Yeah.
But that turns somehow.
That's beautiful, man. I do the same thing. I go to, I was in Tokyo. Tokyo is one of my favorite cities. Man, I get on the train. A black man by myself in Tokyo, get on the train. I go to the I go to the fabric district by myself, which is several subway rides away. Very intimidating. You have to get past that fear of just being in a foreign place and get comfortable with yourself. But the inspiration you can derive from these things is like, it fills your tank, for months and months and years to come.
And I hope our audience derives from this conversation. When you take the success of Shay and the breadth of it, and the success of Dave and my success, whatever the case may be, don't just get lost in your plug-in or get lost in your thing. Get some information in, get input, and particularly now, it can help your mental health, it can help your creativity. That input will come out and turn into great creativity. So it's not an exercise in dreaming. It actually is what people who are very successful do.
Yeah. And I even think you can do it while you're in COVID, right? You can do things like you can explore like different research different architects and look at what they've created, research different writers and find what books that they've done, research different photographers and look at their photography. So meaning even while we can't travel, our mind can,
Absolutely.
So I saw a powerful piece of art last night. Steve McQueen, the British director, released, it's called Small X, and it's a series of, I think it's 5, it says it's episodes, but they're really movies. It's a 2-hour one, the first one, called Mangrove. So I really suggest it.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it was tremendous. I really recommend it.
You guys, Herb and Shay, tell me if you agree with this. I've always felt that, first of all, I've always been fascinated by the process of creativity and how it physically works in the brain and how it emotionally works in the brain. And it feels to me that there's only, going back to Kanye, there's only one form of creativity, but it manifests itself in different mediums. So if you want to be creative, go to a museum and look at the art, and then translate that through your need for creativity. And I firmly believe that. I like once in a while I'll go to the Guggenheim here, and my staff will notice a difference in my creativity. Is it bullshit, or do you think that's true?
Oh, I live by it. I truly believe it. I didn't realize, honestly, how much travel had become part of my process until it got taken away from us with COVID. I did not realize how much of that was part of my creative process, where I would travel somewhere and I'm in Scandinavia and I'm being inspired by the cities are so clean and there's so much talented, musicians and, great architecture, and seeing old churches. I was in Norway and this one church we encountered was incredible. like the architecture from like, I don't know, the 1600s or 1500s. And I had to take pictures of it. And, I took that with me into the studio. And then it just regurgitates itself. You can't help. It just comes out. Obviously starting off doing hip hop, one of my inspirations was obviously digging, right? And you never know what you were going to find when you're digging for samples, whether whether it was a Gregorian chant record or some classical record or some obscure jazz record with a guy who didn't know how to record, and it was so dirty and muffled that itself was a vibe,
Yeah.
So now life is my digging in the crates. You know what I mean? Of the world of travel is my digging in the crates.
That is, and I couldn't agree more, Dave. I think that your definition is correct and Shay's answer is correct. I've always found, it becomes an itch that you have to scratch. And some of us are fortunate enough to then have an outlet to do something with that. And some people don't. And like, I probably didn't realize I could have an outlet to do something with it till Pensado's place. So, I'll put on a live event. I'll put on an award show. And then all of a sudden you have a place to go, then the itch gets bigger, right?
Yeah.
And then you just start itching. And it is for the audience, so they don't think we're just running all over here like a helium balloon. This is part of that unknown thing that you generally don't see discussions about or hear about, and that you can find in yourself and add that to your creativity and then watch your creativity go to a next level. This is a really practical discussion about finding your own path to greater understanding. And sometimes it comes with time, and sometimes there are some brilliant young people who have it right from the gate, and it's a different kind of thing, but it's important to explore. And also, I think if you've been gifted with it, what a gift.
Oh my God, what a gift.
What a gift, man.
If you haven't been gifted, nurture it. Yeah, if you haven't been gifted, nurture it,
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's a privilege to be a steward of pop culture.
Yeah.
It's not your right. You earn that, and you only keep it if you handle it well. And so when people come up to you, Shay, or come up to Dave and I, and they're just, there's a little bit of sort of fanboyism and stuff. And, we're very careful with honoring that. But I like to tell people, I'm still earning it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not cool with people who arrogantly sit back and act like they're there. Like they can do it. It's their right. But if you need to keep bringing it, man, that's what
I can't ever do that. I can't ever be, I've arrived.
Right.
I got to still be on the road. I'm a big fan, and not all of it, but I'm a big fan of punk music. And and a lot of, not all of it, because as we know, a lot of punk musicians couldn't play their instruments well and couldn't sing. But more so the sentiment behind it, and the angst of it, which is also where hip hop came out of as well. But the angst of it. So I look back, I have a lot of books in here on like early punk music and the Slash, the magazine. And because I was probably like, 8, 7 years old when, a lot of this stuff was really prominent. But there's something about the energy of it, right? And that translates in, especially into live music, right? When you're whether it's punk or not, just when you're whatever genre of music, whatever someone digs, it could be an opera, it could be the symphony, but whenever it hits that moment for you where it touches you, right? Where it's like it transcends you, right?
Yep.
And that moment, that connection, that's what I'm always on the road for. I'm always on the road searching for that, because one of my jobs is to help that moment occur, right? So for me, I have to be inspired and I have to try things. I have this saying called "Stay Dangerous." I think in punk it was like go ahead, break something, or don't be afraid to break something. Yeah. My version of that is stay dangerous, and I just mean, if you're fighting a boxer who's unpredictable, or MMA fighter, he's dangerous because he's so unpredictable. So that's my mantra is sort of stay dangerous, because I never want to get too comfortable in my own shoes.
Dave and I live in the same neighborhood, and there's something I call the Woodland Hills weirdo. and that's me.
Is that you or Dave?
No, it's just me.
Oh.
Because I'll have AC/DC on really loud and pull up at a stoplight, and the looks that I get, and I'm in banger because I love rock's edge.
Yeah.
Like, and so much at the underlying of some rock, you get a good Motley Crue record, the funk underneath there is just ridiculous if you can pick it out. And so that edge and that anger, and I'm head banging, and people are like, "We need to get away from this Woodland Hills black guy. We don't know where this is going." So,
but to be completely authentic, you embarrassed the hell out of me in Nashville one time when we were in a car and Herb led the charge, and I'm sure people thought it was Wayne's World. It was like the Queen part of and Herb was like, Herb and Aretha both, and I'm in the back seat trying to tuck down, not be noticed. It's Nashville, you know? But
that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about, man. I love it.
In the front seat, we were playing Average White Band, and we were happened to act out the words in a convertible.
Yeah, and
the people on Broadway in Nashville, I'm not sure it was a convertible, but we had the windows down, and the staff was packed with our, assistants, and we were all Nashville's a music town. If music is an education system, I call Nashville the Ivy League. And man, they were loving it. They were saying these are some old weird people, but they're kind of
but they're feeling it. That's what it's about, man. I can remember I was about 16, I believe it, 86. So I was 16 and Karis One's album came out, right? Criminal Minded. And the song comes on and I'm with my friends and these friends that I'm with that we're listening to, all black friends. Yeah. And the first song, the song called Dope Beat comes on. And I'm like, oh, that's AC/DC, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what? Like, how do you know that? I'm just like, oh, I mean, I like rock. Like,
Absolutely.
I was like, so it was like, I think that was a good thing about growing up in Boston. I grew up in Boston. So it was at the time that hip hop was becoming what we know it to be today. It was at that flourishing time of Public Enemy and KRS One and all these things. But there was still, because of rock music, Aerosmith and, Boston was a great connection to Boston, so I was able to discover the Dead Kennedys and the Ramones and Aerosmith and some of these, and Led Zeppelin and, some of these legendary, which also just kept when you're from Boston and kids are walking around with these T-shirts. And if I didn't know it, because in my household, it was jazz and R&B, and soul music. It was Earth, Wind and Fire and Minnie Riperton, and Miles Davis. So, there was no rock really in my house. Although my dad was a fan of John Lennon. But I really learned that because I was bused to school, and I went to high school and middle school in Brookline, which is a predominantly Jewish community. Yeah. So when I mixed this mixed education, and kids would have Led Zeppelin T-shirt, I'd be like, "What's that? Oh, that T-shirt's cool," and they put me on the Led Zeppelin. Next thing you know, I'm buying Led Zeppelin. I'm in the record store getting Led Zeppelin. And it was just a great melting pot of discovery for me, which totally informed who I am now.
Jay, I'll ask you a couple of process questions. Excuse me. In terms of your writing, your production, I'm fascinated by the way you use two laptops. Can you share a couple of your processes with us, including that two laptop thing?
Yeah, it's evolved over the years for sure. And like I said, because I was such a hip hop guy at the time I started, it used to be all about the drums, right? So when I started, it was like, maybe MPC 1200 and, SP 1200. I still have MPCs, but it was all about starting with the drums. As I got, older and deeper in the process and studying music, and now it's all about melody first. I 95% start with melody. The computers are recorders for me. I use the DAW like a tape recorder, especially when I'm in my personal studio. If I'm on the road or something, then I might be in the box more. I might be using VSTs and so on and so forth. But in my personal studio, I have rows and rows of keyboards. So I call it present, past, and future. So in the future back there I got modular synths. I got racks of modulars and I've got a bunch of, all that kind of, almost more of like EDM, electron drum machines and things of that nature. In the past, I got an ASR 10, an MPC 3000, and a turntable. And then present, I got Moogs and Dave Smith instruments. So it is much more for me I turn on Logic as a tape recorder and I go fiddle, and I go write, I go play. When I get a groove, boom, record. I've got an iPad remote, so I can just wherever I'm sitting, anywhere in the studio, I can just record, right there. So it's much more of a free spirited approach. Pick up a guitar, hit record, and just play. And then I don't consider myself a guitar player, but if I just play for 3 minutes, I'm going to come up with some nice grooves, and I'll identify those grooves, get rid of everything else, and focus on the groove.
And also, is that where your love for Death by Audio guitar pedals?
Yep, which is what I was going to pull up because I love them.
I know you do.
Yeah, I have every one of them. This one is I don't know if you're familiar with their line. This is the Verberation Machine. It's a really great trippy reverb. Everything they make is angst. It speaks to my angst, and it speaks to my disruption. And it's, some of the Strymon pedals are great and very technology, fancy forward, if you will, modern. I still go back to that punk influence. I want that,
Yeah, I like Earthquaker too.
Yeah, even if it's a sweet song, I want to find the the Teddy Pendergraphs in that sweet song. That Teddy voice.
Back to punk days, that's what it is.
Yeah. Going back to the two laptops, the reason for the other laptop is I dibble and dabble with FL Studio. So, there is something to be said about painting with the colors that that people are looking for. The kids hear certain textures and frequencies right now, right? And being in tune with some of the kids and the youth, as a 50-year-old guy, I'm in tune with what they do, what they use, what tools they're using, and so on and so forth. I don't need to sound like, Tay Keith or anything like that, but or Metro Boomin or Murder Beats or any of those guys. I need to sound like Che, but I also like knowing and understanding the sonics that they're using. So that's
and also maybe this applies or not. It's probably just when Dave and I have talks, we often say and they're often younger people than us, we're often saying, don't get it twisted. We will dunk on you. I'll take you to the hole and try to hammer dunk, and you block it, get back up.
Yeah.
I'll elbow you and get I need to compete where you live.
Yes.
Not observe it and just be the old guy in time.
Yeah, I'm not the old guy in the room that, I walk in the room, everyone's like, hey, OG. Don't think I'm not in there. I'm in there learning and studying,
Yeah.
I don't just pull up on these young guys just to be like, hey, how you doing? I'm pulling up because I'm studying. I'm studying my competition.
Rance from 1500 Nothing would always say to me, damn, man, you always turn up. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be here. Like, I don't like legenditis. Don't.
Yeah.
That's Herb. He did no. Herb is still rocking. Tune on this place.
Yep, Rance is my guy. Rance is my guy. He's an able guy.
Love them all. But now we got to make a conversion to sports here because you're from a sports town that is legendary, Boston.
Yeah. Crazy fans.
I'm a Laker freak, so we've had those healthy rivalries But listen, there's nothing like, we love Boston. We went to Isotope and spoke, and I love that small town is such a big, goofy, smart town of smart people and incredible musicians.
Yep.
You walk through the airport, man, you're in a sports town. The banners and from hockey to baseball or foot, it's really incredible. And then, Dave's a Floridian. And so they have that sports tradition. So he's kind of arrogant about batter's box. He's going to throw some heaters by you. So
all right,
I'm just a color commentator.
I'm excited for it. I'm here for it. Pensado's Place is an institution, and I'm just honored to be a guest on this institution, and I'm so thankful to chat with you guys whenever we have time. I love it. So bring it on, Dave.
I put it another way. I'm a black man with a job.
you know, hey, me too. So I'm
Exactly.
very happy about that.
DP,
I was unemployed for quite a while.
No question.
You know, so.
Okay, we ready? Here we go. 808s.
That is the area code of my cell phone.
One word. It's as close as you can.
Okay.
Analog or digital?
Analog.
Nice.
Presets.
No.
2-inch tape.
Own one. Own.
Drum programming.
I'm a god.
Nice. Nice.
Bass.
Flat wound.
Note to the referee. I think that last one was out of bounds that he had. Anyway, there's no out of bounds in baseball, I guess. Executives.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Ooh. Clarence Avant.
Ooh, yeah, great answer. I quit. We're done.
Good questions.
Damn.
Good questions.
Virtual synthesizers.
Mezza.
Vocals.
C800.
Melodies.
Everything.
Okay, this one's just for me. Think of it as an extra point question. What the F is an omnichorus? Does anybody else own one besides you? That's the question.
Actually, No ID owns one too. He told me. Can I say that in more than one word?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so the omnichorus is I think it was primarily, because it was either Suzuki that made them. So it was really kind of a Japanese instrument. I discovered it, years ago. I worked at music stores when I started off. It's a long story. I was on probation, so I had to have a job. So for like 6 months, I worked in a music store, and someone brought one in used. And that was the first time I got to see it and play with it. And I've always known about it. So, once I had some money, it literally was like one of the first things I went.
What does it sound like? What do you?
It's how on a harmonium or an octagon, you can press chords and then play. It's almost triangular with buttons, and it's got like a grill you can slide. You can slide your fingers across. It actually sounds amazing. It's got little preset drum rhythms in it as well.
Have you used it on?
You could play chords, but then you can also sort of play melodies along it as well.
Are you still an auto-tune guy?
I am. I'm actually doing something with Antares on I believe Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I am, because you know what, I've actually been finding I've been using it for more than just vocals, which I never did for years. Yeah. I do have some quirky synths that go out of tune. So that's where I started. And then I realized normally that kind of stuff I would just melodyne.
Mm-hmm.
And I started using autotune on it, just really experimenting. And I started getting some really cool results.
Mm.
So now I've been using autotune in all sorts of ways, so I've been,
Oh, good stuff. Good
Sometimes,
stuff.
sometimes I get 808s that are slightly out of tune, and I throw autotune on it, and the whole mix just comes alive.
Yep, I use it on 808s.
Yeah.
And the other thing I've been doing is I've been doing some weird things with notes, right? So meaning taking drone-ish type notes, if you will, having them on multiple tracks, shifted, and then tuned to different notes.
And then,
Yeah, and getting some really like dissonance out of it, and that's been kind of fun. So I've been actually playing with it more. I've sort of scaled down the amount of plugins I use, and then the ones that I use.
Right. Shay Pope, there is ample reason why you are one of the industry favorites, one of the most sought after, one of the most gifted, and it all starts with your humanity, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
As somebody who listened to the Boston album as a college kid and can do every lyric and sing more than it's feeling, I am always honored to meet people that inspire me, and you've always have, and you've always been a great great friend to us and a great friend to the industry. So, we love you.
Thank you. Love you guys too. Love you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I love your platform. I love the information you share with people. It's been so inspirational. I've loved, it's been honestly such a learning tool for me. Like I can just sit and watch, some of the great interviews you guys do. And if I'm just in here and I got downtime, I just pull you guys up,
and we're coming on your show, so we can pull up your shows too.
Yeah.
So we come on both of them. So
Definitely. And, I think for all of us, the best is yet to come because, we're not stopping. We're not going anywhere.
Dave, take us home.
One thing struck me among many things, actually. And then when I was preparing for today's show and then listening to Chay's talk, I think the headline for this particular episode might be "Know Your Value." If you don't know your value, you can't reach the heights that Chay's reached. And in the 50s, a lot of people got creamed in terms of knowing the value of their work and giving it away for nothing. And that saying has value in music, has value in relationships, it has value in business, and just life in general. And thank you, Mr. Pope. Know your value.
Know your value. That's great. That is truly what I believe. So thank you so much for making that the overall theme of this. This was great.